boil it. If you get them, if you can keep it as hot as you can keep it, and it'll go right around there like a noodle.
I took ash and 12-foot 3-inch dryer duct and a wallpaper steamer. I cooked that 8 hours. And we got a hold of it and I said, boy, this is really, that was it.
Hickory is your best. But I'm kind of funny. I hate to cut up a nut tree. I don't know how you can buy hickory, you know, but I've bent red oak and I've bent the white oak. The white oak works the best, and you can't have any knots in it. And if you can find something that's cut on the rift, so that when they saw it, they turn it a quarter turn when they saw it, and that lets the grain go across like this in it instead of going straight down or straight across. That lets the grain on a 45 in your wood. So if you're going to do any bending, when you go to the sawmill, tell them to rift cut it. And they have rift cut wood, and most of your rift cut wood is for bending.
Rift cut?
Rift cut.
Isn't it the same as calling it quarter sawn oak?
Quarter saw. Yeah, they turn it a quarter of a turn and cut it.
I missed something. What are we using all these strips for?
This here tack strip is that piece that goes up around the top of the body that the upholstery tacks to. You know, you've seen that little 1/4-inch piece or 3/4 by 3/4. It's around the top of most open bodies. And then your upholstery comes up around here, and it has to have something to tack to.
That's on the older cars.
On the older cars. Yeah.
I've run into a problem, let's say on 27 Chevy. You know, the wood's solid, the doors are solid, they're not all sprung, but a lot of times the upholstery, somebody's put extra tacks in the doors to hold them together, and there's not enough wood on that outside to tack to. Does anybody, or have you ever run into that? Something to like.
In other words, the wood's like it's soft. There ain't enough left there to.
Right.
Okay.
Like I didn't do it because I ended up selling the car before I was got into do it.
Now that'd be a good place for that quick poly, and then just to keep painting that wood, because that quick poly will penetrate that wood, and then you got a solid surface to tack to.
What I thought about doing was getting like 3/16 thick nylon.
Yeah.
You know, you can shear that and maybe take a router or something and cut down that far and put that in. You could screw that in, and then you would have something to tack it.
Yeah.
And I thought that would hold. That's what I was thinking.
What you're talking about, that stuff that's there is like a hemp.
Yeah, well, it's wood that they just tacked into.
Yeah.
You know, like that original. You know, they were hidden tacks.
Yeah.
Well, over the years they had to get into work on the regulator, and then the door, the upholstery had peeled away, and they nailed it back. And then, like in my case, it's one I had somebody to take the upholstery tacks and tack it back.
Right.
And then, of course, after a while they loosened because the wood's extremely dry. Then they'd move the tack over a little bit farther.
Well, if you paint that stuff, paint it with that quick poly, then you've got a hard surface back again. That quick poly, you can drill it and tap it or whatever.
Will it hold tacks?
Huh?
Quick poly will hold the tapered
Hold it,
tack?
yeah. Yeah, and you can drill it and tap it after you've done it.
Something along that same line, a lot of times on the bodies, you have this like twisted paper that they have that just clamps into the metal bodies.
Yeah,
And
you
that
can
stuff
buy
will just,
that.
well, I've never had a place to get a hold of that, and if there's a piece of that missing there, a lot of times I'll take like this POR4 or something like that and just fill that full of epoxy in there, and you can nail into that. That'll take a nail just like wood will, and it'll hold good, and it sticks right to the metal and just adheres fast. Makes a good nail strip. The same way with filling holes like that. I've used that already, where there's big holes and stuff where the nailers are, and just take a putty knife and work that stuff into them, and they'll take nails good.
Yeah, and probably like Larry, he's probably, I don't know, he's here or not. When you're taking the upholstery out on some of these metal bodies, and they got them little round inserts and stuff in them. Guy always should save all of them things too. You can't even buy them. I mean, you can get them with a kit, but you can't just go out and buy them. They're things that them are, what they call them, ring nails go into. And if you get a kit and there's 3 or 4 of them missing, then you have to get back to them, and there's such your job for another 3 or 4 weeks. And really, all you got to do is squeeze them shut, and you can use them over again.
And then 2 other things while I'm thinking real quick. One mistake people make when they go to put the sheet metal back on, you need to use the right nails. You shouldn't just go down to the hardware store and buy nails. There's regular nails. There's a place in Cleveland that sells them.
Bed
Some
Auto
of them
Supply.
are, they're a twisted nail, because otherwise you'll put your sheet metal in and that nail will just back right out of that hole. Where these other ones, you tap them, you see them screwing themselves in there.
Yeah, them nails cost you about 2 cents a piece, and if you get good at hanging on to them, they're a hardened nail. You can drive them through a piece of 20 gauge. But, I ended up buying too many blackened fingernails, so now if I got to do that, I take and use them, hold them with a pair of pliers, and then give them a hit. But you can, they're a hardened nail. You can drive them right down through a piece of 20 gauge. And that's the way these cars were made originally. Them guys, they never had no holes drilled in them. They just drove them nails in.
Another little trick for those of you that work on the early cars, I'm sure some of you have thought of it, but maybe some of you haven't, where you have the all wood panel bodies, and they had a tendency to crack in certain places, and I don't care how many times you fix it, it's going to crack there. If you're going to do a complete restoration, you want to be a little sneaky about it. A Formica shop can help you so well. Was it Joe Salvatore that had the Gasmobile? Bill Salvatore, that's his father was Joe. Where I worked, we did that body, and that entire body is Formica. Sanded it down, and it'll never crack. There was one friend of ours has a 1909 Rio, and Joe Arnell, Terry Martin did the body on it about 30 years ago, and he Formica the whole thing. It's absolutely flawless, and it's been through every kind of weather that you can imagine. There's a one chip or anything on there. So if you have panels that have a tendency, take it down to your Formica place, have them do a thin, no, you don't like that? Oh, I thought you were saying don't do it, you shook your head. And it's great. What you have to do is get the Formica that has the rough finish on it, not the glazed finish that you'll see on countertops. But they have one that's, in fact, it's something like this one right here. Start putting your filler on and sand it, and that thing, it's just like
feather fill?
No, just put on your regular, your heavy sand sealer that
Yeah,
DuPont
primer
puts
surfacer.
on. Your primer surfacer.
And
Well, now that
gluing
wouldn't-
that over the other original
You're
wood.
gluing it right to the original
I'll
wood.
tell you where they use a lot of that, I'm familiar with. All your big roadside billboards, your 40, 50 foot ones up above, they're filled up with 4 by 10 foot sheets of plywood, and that has got that Formica-like coating on it that they glue all the.
And that's out in all
signs
kinds
to.
of weather, and
It's
that-
super.
And that
How
won't
thick is
crack
this?
or break.
That'll stay there longer than any of us in the room will ever be here.
Well, is that good for any but flat surfaces or?
Oh, contours, curves, round the backs of the seats.
Pound curves?
The Gasmobile, if you remember, it had the big body and the rounded front end of the rounded seats. That entire thing was coated with, I don't know if he knows it or not.
How do they make a bulbous curve?
They use a thinner Formica, and it's just like this, and they just bring it right. It's a contact cement they put on there, and they use the big rollers and they just right around, and it's there. And you make one
You probably
mistake,
have to have a few cuts in it if you have a
real sharp one, but
Well, I'm not talking about bulbous, where it's,
like around the seats.
yeah, where it's
No problem.
curved this way and curved this way.
Okay, I see. A double.
Yeah, bulbous.
You'd have a problem there, I'd imagine.
They cut it and
But,
fit it in pieces.
See, even if you seam it,
It don't make no difference.
you do the seam just like you would a body. You know, you do a little bit of fillers, rough up the seam where the two pieces would come together, rough it up, putty it up, fiberglass it up, whatever you like to use yourself, finish it off. And I've seen these bodies, and these are driving cars. These aren't sitting cars. They're flawless after 30 years. Absolutely
I
perfect.
stopped in Hayes, Kansas one time, and there's a guy out there, he builds these, bodies for like the early Cadillacs and them tulip bodies and all that
Yeah,
kind of
right.
stuff. And after he built them, he made them out of plywood, and then he probably sprayed them all with feather fill, and then sanded them out and then primed them.
Okay. In the-
That's where I seen the feather fill being used the first time.
okay.
Hard stuff to work with.
Oh, it's hard to work with.
Don't leave it in your gun.
I used it once, and I said, that's enough of that crap.
I've got some fenders though that I'd done 20 years ago, and they're just as nice as the day they were done with that feather fill. And they had more pits in them, you could have stuck matches in the holes. That was back when I couldn't find good fenders.
What do you expect out of feather fill when you, say you've got a real problem surface to do? What do you expect out of feather fill?
To fill the pits. Like if you've got a lot of pits in your, saying a fender or something, feather fill will be a 1 trip over instead of 25 trips.
Frame too?
Yeah.
Headed frame?
But it's a bear to sand.
It's a bear to
You put it on a
sand.
frame and then you start sanding and you sand and you
You
sand.
can, and the wet sand's better than the dry sand, and feather fill today is a lot better sanded than it was a few years ago.
I ended up with such deep sand scratch, I had used such heavy paper on it to break it in there, and by the time I got through, I ended up putting that
I
cement
found
coat
that 80 grit works the best to start with. They say finer than that, but
I had to use coarse stuff, and I'd have to put several coats of primer on to cover the
what
scratches.
what most guys find is when you're sanding, you put too much pressure. And if you let the sandpaper work, it would come off a lot better.
Otherwise, you tend to gum up your paper real bad.
I got an old fella that comes and helps me, and I just soon not let him have sand, because he uses up more sandpaper and fiberglass in a day's time, and
Hey, excuse me 1 second, I have to run. They just opened a hospitality room, where they're going to shortly. We have one more question, and I'll see you folks tonight. I'm gonna let Bill finish up, because I have to run to work
I
real
was just
quick.
gonna ask on that.
you have to go do one.
Oh, I'm sorry, sure.
On that Formica, did they do that inside and out like too, or just?
No, just on the outside
Just on the
surface.
outside.
Yeah, and the inside is just the wood surface.
How thick is that Formica?
Probably 16th
330
or,
seconds.
yeah, it's-
40,000.
Hey, I got something in case anybody ever needs it. You know how on these, and I know Larry does upholstery and makes side curtains, but I went to a plastics place, and I had my side curtains with the old,
isinglass.
was bad. And I went up there and I asked if they had it, no, we don't have nothing like that, but they had Lexan. That's 330 seconds now, you can sew it. You can sew it, it's just like the isinglass, it's pliable. The guy gave me.
What is it?
Like Lexan, it's made by, like 330 seconds thick.
Flex sand.
Lexan.
It's like a plastic glass.
L-E-X-A-N.
Plexiglass.
Yeah, but, oh, it's pliable though.
Yeah, that's very.
If you have any more
You
questions,
sew it right in.
come on up and run while we clean up. If not, we'll see you at the dinner party tonight, dressed in your best outfits, we hope. Come up and look at the pictures that, some of the work that Bill did, some original pictures there on both sides if you haven't seen them.